Hey guys, this is Dan Reeser, and I'm joined here by Rui Tao. We're going to be going over quite a bit of information today over our network called Karura, which we're building on Kusama. You may also know us as the Acala team. So we're also preparing for the Acala launch on Polkadot, but that'll come after our Karura launch. So today we're going to spend a little time talking through that. Let me start sharing my screen, and I'll just go through a little bit of an agenda for us. And then we can go ahead and get started. So what today looks like is a few things. So what is Karura in general? I'll cover some slides on that and just give you an overview of what everything is, what products we're building, and that'll lead into Rui Tao going through a demo of each of these products. So most notably, he'll start with the wallet, and then we'll go through the KUSD, the Karura dollar stablecoin. Then we'll go through Karura's AMM DEX. And then last, we'll end with liquid KSM staking. So it should be really cool. Like it's going to make it really real for you guys getting in and actually seeing the product work. And then what we'll do is Robin here in the chat will paste at the end our link that you can actually go use these applications on the testnet now and get ready for what's going to come live on Kusama pretty soon. So first, Rui Tao, do you want to give an intro of yourself? And then I'll do the same and we can go ahead and get started.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Dan. Hi, everyone. This is Rui Tao, a co-founder of Acala and obviously Karura as well, working on Karura. I've been working in the blockchain space for more than 7 years, I would say. We started building the Acala network back in 2 years ago. We are one of the very first substrate builders. And I'm an engineer myself. I'm still am till today. I love to write code. And that's pretty much by my background. I'm really into building cutting edge stuff and so excited that after almost 2 years of building, we are really, really close to going live on Kusama.
Cool. Thanks, Rui Tao. And yeah, so I'm Dan Reeser, working as VP of Growth here at Acala and Karura. Been on the team for a little over a couple months now. Had previously worked kind of part-time with Acala for about 6 months before joining full-time. Prior to coming to Acala, I spent some time at Web3 Foundation working on Polkadot and Kusama. So it was kind of a natural progression moving from this base layer up one level to the parachain level and getting ready for all this kind of craziness and excitement that's about to come with all of these launches. So the first launch that we're working on that I mentioned is Karura. And I think before we get into the details of Karura and Acala, it's kind of helpful to always start at the highest level. So what we're building is one of these parachains, these little like gray squares here. These are each parachains or individual blockchains that are customized for a specific purpose. And what this graphic here shows is kind of the future. This is where we will have 100 or more parachains connected to Kusama and 100 or more parachains connected to Polkadot, all in one kind of connected ecosystem, because as you can see here in the middle, there will be a bridge built between Polkadot and Kusama. But at this point, these two kind of multi-chain networks are actually pretty bare. There's no parachains connected to either of them yet. It's just the beginning. And what our goal is at Acala and Karura is to be the first parachain in the public slot on Kusama with Karura, and then be the first parachain on Polkadot with Acala. So with that as background, like we mentioned, we're going to be talking about Karura today, which is what we're really seeing it becoming is the kind of DeFi hub of the Kusama ecosystem, as well as providing many different financial products to all the different parachains and applications that we'll be launching in the Kusama ecosystem. In my opinion, there's no better way to start the Kusama ecosystem than to have Karura launch first because of what we're about to explain to you. And these are not just products that Acala and Karura will be able to use. These are actually what are called primitives. It's kind of a new concept, but it's built kind of into the blockchain itself, which means that other teams can actually come into the ecosystem and leverage what our team has built. So for example, the Karura dollar is a stable coin that will not only be used in our applications, but it can be used by anyone in the Kusama ecosystem. So no better way to kind of kickstart this ecosystem than to build this kind of important foundation first with Karura, and then allow kind of other teams to build with what we're providing to the ecosystem. What you see here on the screen is the UI of the actual kind of the application layer that our team has built out. So we do have these products that are built into the blockchain itself, but our team has also built on our own chain an entire kind of application layer, which you see here. And this is what Ru Tao is going to be demoing today. Just to further explain what I mentioned about Acala being a platform for applications and then also an application layer, if you can see this diagram here, this is kind of working from the base layer of Kusama and up. So what this is showing is Kusama is this, of course, this multi-chain platform that I showed you, and we're trying to get a slot in Kusama. And what that allows us to do is to plug in this entire kind of orange box here, which is Karura, and this is our blockchain. This is a layer 1 blockchain equivalent to something like Ethereum today. And within Karura, there are multiple primitives or financial products built with which we can use in applications on top of this. So you can see here the stablecoin I mentioned, liquid KSM staking, which allows you to stake KSM and actually get a receipt for that you can use within DeFi instead of just staking your KSM and it being kind of locked and stuck there and not usable. Another aspect is our DEX, which Ru Tao will demo here soon. And then some of we always talk about how blockchains can be customized with Substrate and built for specific use cases. And here is what we mean by that. So bring your own gas is a feature that Ru Tao will also show today. This is a feature that we've customized specifically for our chain, for Karura and Acala, because we're trying to make them specialized for DeFi. And what this allows you to do, if you've ever used DeFi and Ethereum, you know that you can't do any transactions without having ETH. And if you're a new user to Ethereum, first you have to learn what ETH is. You have to go find it. It's a difficult process. But with Bring Your Own Gas with Karura and Acala, it'll allow people to bring in any token and immediately pay the initial transaction fee with that token. So for example, someone bringing Bitcoin over to Karura would be able to bring Bitcoin over, basically wrap it and issue it on Kusama and Karura, and then be able to pay their initial, maybe it's a swap, maybe it's a transfer, but paying that fee in BTC instead of having to go out and find KAR token, which is the kind of utility token of Karura. And then last, the Acala EVM is kind of another specialized Ethereum environment that we've built specifically for Karura and Acala. So with that being said, that's layer 1 here in the middle. This is the blockchain itself. And then on top of that, our team has already built an entire application that leverages all these things that I just mentioned to you. So Ru Tao, what he'll be talking through today is our whole kind of suite of applications that's been built on our blockchain. And then keeping that in mind, there's also, of course, this is an open platform. So it's not going to be just Karura building applications. It's going to be other teams coming in and building on this open environment that we've created. I don't need to go through this because I kind of just covered all of those. And then here's just the highest level look at Karura in general. So these are all the products that we've built. There's several bridges being built in the ecosystem right now, specifically for, or most notably for Bitcoin and Ethereum. So pretty soon after we launch, we'll be seeing Ethereum assets tradable and kind of usable within our DEX and other products. And yeah, like this is essentially Karura in a nutshell and very similar to Acala, but we'll just stick to Karura for today's presentation. So I think this is the last slide, but one question that a lot of people ask is why we decided to build Karura on Kusama in addition to Acala on Polkadot. And the answer to this question is that we are doing this based on user demand. So this Kusama ecosystem and the Polkadot ecosystem, although there's some overlap, they're also quite distinctly different now, and they have two different communities of token holders with DeFi demand. So we're building Karura to serve that DeFi demand of Kusama, and we'll be building Acala to serve the DeFi demand of Polkadot. But Kusama, if you have the background on Kusama, it's meant to be this place to have fun, to experiment, and to kind of launch products before moving to Polkadot, but after being heavily tested on a testnet. So Kusama is absolutely not a testnet at all. It's the testnet is called Rococo and West End. Things are tested on testnet, then move to Kusama, and then move to Polkadot. What we're building is also kind of going to follow a similar path. Our testnet is called Mandala. So the testnet there is where brand new products will be built and tested and refined and hopefully nearly perfected before they move to Karura. Then Karura is where we can actually experiment in a real life environment with real value on a real kind of thriving network. And then if we decide that this is a product that the Kusama community liked, we got good feedback, we were able to improve the product, then we move it to Acala after that. And then last, this is just kind of a look at some numbers. I don't need to go through all of these. We actually just added up our community numbers yesterday, and we just crossed 200,000. We're at around 205,000 across the Acala and Karura channels. So we're growing at pretty insane speeds right now and getting very close to the crowd loan process and parachain auction process that we've talked about before. And there are some videos on that on our YouTube channel. Feel free to check out, but we won't get into details on that process today. So that's it for my part. And now we're going to go into the demos. And what we're going to do in terms of kind of format here is Ruitao will go through one of the products, and then we'll take a brief pause and let you guys do Q&A. And please ask questions specifically about the demo that he had just done. For example, if it's the borrow AUSD part of this, just keep your questions to that. We'll answer a few questions. Then he'll move on to the next demo. We'll do a short Q&A, and then the final demo we'll do another Q&A, and we'll end up with kind of an open Q&A session because I know you guys have a lot of questions. So go ahead, Ruitao, take it away from here.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. That's an awesome introduction. So I just share my screen to make sure that, so Dan, can you see my screen? Everyone can see my screen?
Yep, we got it.
Awesome. So this is the front-end dApp to Karura or to Mandala. Like this is the testnet, but this is going to be the front-end dApp for Karura. It is like what Dan says. Karura itself is a specialized blockchain with a set of built-in features. And this is the front end for you to interact as a consumer, as a trader, to interact with this specialized network. And obviously, the most important feature overall is that we have a dark mode. And this fits within the Karura's color scheme and looks really awesome. This is what we're going to be look like as a default color scheme when we launch this, when we launch the Karura network. And the very first page that I'm going to show is the wallet page. This is where you manage all your assets within the Karura parachain. And as you can see, you can have your, well, this will be definitely turning to the KAR token. You will have your KSM token. You have your KAUSD token. You can freely transfer to other wallet address by just interacting with this front-end dApp. You can manage your assets as if like one of the aggregation of your assets, get access to value transfer or get access to things like minting BTC, minting Polka BTC, or do inter-parachain transfer. For example, if I want to transfer Acala asset from Acala to, for example, HydraDex, I can select here and do an interchain transfer. So this is almost looks like a user-friendly wallet that you can access. Like in my opinion, way better than just using Polkadot.js to interact with the blockchain. So yeah,
that's what I was going to ask you, right? So as we go through this, I'm just going to ask questions that I think people in the audience might be wondering. So what you're showing here is a wallet that can be used similar to people have on Polkadot.js now, or even some of their mobile wallets. But when they connect, what they would do to actually see these numbers here, is it correct that they would go up to the Polkadot.js extension and connect their Polkadot.js account to this wallet, and it would show their live balances within this wallet? Is that right?
Yes, definitely. And the Polkadot.js is very similar to the MetaMask equivalent on Polkadot. You can manage multiple accounts in this wallet section as well. So I can change to another demo account here. You can see all the stuff. I refresh on the fly. I can change back to my original demo account. And you can also see a history of your past transaction. So very, very user-friendly, very, very consumer-focused. This is your one-stop to access your assets on Karura. So Dan, do we want to see if there's any questions that we'd like to answer regarding this wallet interface, or should we carry on to work on the next section, which is the borrowing, the borrowing of the stablecoin?
Let's see. It might be hard to actually sort through this box. So if you guys have questions specific to one of these demos, I'll be actually watching the chat here. So which wallet, someone says, which wallet is chosen for this? Is it the KSM wallet?
Well, this is like the, if you use Polkadot.js as the extension, this is essentially your access to both Kusama and Polkadot and Karura and Acala, like every single subject-based blockchain, they gonna all be manageable by Polkadot.js. So think about this is like a multi-chain version of MetaMask. You arrive at Karura, you access to your Karura asset using your SAM Polkadot.js extension.
Yeah, so you basically connect one account from your Polkadot.js,
Yes.
and then it shows you every wallet that's kind of connected to that account.
Yes, yes. And obviously, in Polkadot.js, you have the rights, you have the way to manage, like, I would like to use this on Acala. I only would like to use this this particular wallet.js, maybe only on Relay Chain, on Kusama. Or you can say that I would like to use this wallet in all the available parachains and relay chains. So you can get the users ability to choose like where this wallet is going to be available. And if you make it available for Karura, it will appear here, and you can manage that.
Yep. Yeah, P, I see this guy named, or this person named P just was asking about the branding here. So when Acala is launched, it's going to only say Acala and have the Acala logo. When Karura launches, it'll have the Karura logo in the upper left. And then this is always going to say this for the testnet. So Acala Mandala is the testnet. So yeah, that will be only the name of the network when they're live.
Yeah, and I also want to give a little bit hint here. So Karura is the sister network of Acala, right? So when they're born, they are almost identical. But when they go live and when the genesis happens, the two networks might take different paths. Like you might see asset that will be only available on Karura, because like there will be asset only available on Kusama, or you might see feature that will be only available on Karura because like it's the wild cousin of Polkadot, and you will see the similar stuff happen on Karura as the main, on Acala as the mainnet as well. So when they genesizes, it's the same, but they might evolve into its own distinctive set of features.
Perfect. Well, let's move on to the next demo. We've got Keith and who else was that? Sage are both interested in borrowing on the platform. So let's get into that.
Yeah, no problem. And this is one of the reasons that we think why Karura is so useful when it's become a parachain. You can unlock the utility of your Kusama token and start to borrow against your Kusama token. So this is the borrowing interface. You can see an overview of your current position. So you can see you have I have already borrowed, open a position on RandBDC. I borrow roughly $3,000 against 0.1 RandBDC. That's a little bit risky, but I mean that's what the system allows. You can actually create loans using any sort of asset that will be available in the governance process, allowed to be used as crypto. And in this particular interface here, I have L dot, which we'll be covering later. And this will be definitely will be like Kusama, Kusama, and Bitcoin. So what I'm going to demo here is that I'm going to borrow more against my 0.1 RandBDC position here. So you can see the current Bitcoin Oracle rate is roughly that number. I'm still quite safe to borrow a little bit more against that 0.1 RandBDC. So I'm going to press generate more. I'm going to press, hey, I would like to borrow maybe $10 more. And I'm press confirm. And this is where the signing comes up. I'm going to type in my key, password, and sign the transaction. And boom, I have $10 more that I can spend. And this is how fast a parachain network looks like. And all this is happening on the fly for real. And you can actually see this on the block scanner that's provided by Subscan. So this is amazing, right? This is much more responsive, much more user friendly. Also, I can also replay, right? I can pay back a set of position if I think I I want to reduce a little bit of risk here. I can pay back 100 a year USD. That's like reducing my collateralization ratio. And any asset that will be available through the governance process can be borrowed against. Different assets would have different risk parameters. So for example, Bitcoin might have a risk parameter on the minimum collateral ratio, on the liquidation ratio, on the liquidation fee, dots, L dots, KSM, LKSM, they might all have different ratio that be managed and governed by the governance process. So that it is essentially how you borrow against collaterals in Karura.
Yeah, so maybe one thing we can do, this concept of collateralization and taking loans is probably new to a lot of people. I know it was new to me at one point. And basically, like to make this as simple as possible, like I think many of us are aware of how like a home loan works, where typically you might put like 10% down or 20% down. That cash that you put down is what you're putting down in order to get the full loan of whatever you're getting for that house. But with the way this works in crypto, we're actually you're over collateralizing the loan. So that's why these collateral ratios are over 100%. And what you're doing, like what it really means of collateral is that you're actually taking something like Bitcoin. You don't need to sell it, but you can pull out AUSD, a stable coin, with your Bitcoin still there, not sold. And then you can take the AUSD and either you can send that to people, you can make payments, you can use that to provide liquidity within our DEX. But that's essentially what this collateral ratio means. And I don't know, Ruta, if you have any more to add to that.
Yeah, essentially give you more utility to the asset that you are holding to that you might not want to sell or in short term. And for example, for Kusama, for LKSM, those are perfectly great collateral for you to gain more utility out of your existing Kusama holdings. You can go long, you can go short, you can. The option is in your hand to decide how you're going to use this collateral to trade and ride with the market.
And Broderick asked, what about interest? So are you paying interest when you're taking out these loans, and how does that work?
Yes. So the interest essentially is what we call the stabilization fee. If you take a loan, there will be definitely some interest occur. And this is also the interest used to manage the supply and demand of the stablecoin, as well as like the way to maintain that the stablecoin will be pegged to $1 in value. And the interest, all the stabilization fee will be managed by the governance process. Really depends on demands and supplies.
And do you know your interest rate before you take out the loan?
Obviously, definitely.
Yeah.
So let's say that we want to create a loan, want to create some LKSM as collateral. I'm going to put in maybe 5 LKSM here, and I'm going to take in maybe like $2 loan. You can already see that the amount of money that you can borrow, the interest rate in here, the liquidation penalty. That if things goes wrong, how you can. But in chance that if you overcapitalize and the position become risky, you might get liquidated. So this is the figure that you will be able to see before you create a loan. And the final confirmation stage, you will be once again. So go ahead and confirm all the numbers and press confirm. And this is how you open a loan position. So I just created a loan using my LKSM and received like $2. So you can say if I now go back to the interface, I have 2 positions open, one with Bitcoin, one with LKSM. Those is like and I borrow probably like a few $1,000s against both LKSM and RANBDC.
Okay, that makes sense. And someone asked, where does that interest actually go?
Well, the interest is actually go to the treasury and being managed by the network, right? It's essentially controlled by the network for the long prosperity of the network. The interest ultimately will be the surplus within this system. And if you read our white paper regarding the decentralized sovereign wealth fund, the interest is ultimately managed by the token holders.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One other question that's relevant, I think, the liquidation concept, I think, is new to a lot of people. And so basically what he asked, what happens if the token that is basically collateralized, the value drops? So liquidation in this sense does not mean that you kind of like lose everything that you put down. That's why there was a liquidation percentage. So in the example Rui Tao just showed, it said 20%. So what that means is if the price of the underlying collateral asset that you put down, say it's Bitcoin, for example, if the price were to drop to a point where it became risky, according to what the system says here, then your position would basically be sold at a rate of a 20% kind of fee for that liquidation taking place.
Yeah. Yeah, I think to better think about liquidation is more of like if you collateralize and you borrow against your Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin drop to a particular price, a fraction of your collateral will be sold. And you will see that if you were just like sold those collaterals at that price, you will still hold on to the money that you borrow against. It's just like you sold those collateral at a penalty.
Yep. Cool. Well, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, so the next section we're going to cover is the DEX. That's where you can trade assets that are going to be available on Karura, and assets that's going to be available in the wider Kusama ecosystem. This is where you can trade. So you can see I just borrow some AUSD or KUSD, the stable coin. I can already start to trade. For example, I like to trade 100 KUSD for maybe some Polka BTC. And I can say that, okay, this is what I'm going to trade. It's very similar to Uniswap. An AM type of exchange, I can just press one button and then boom, I will be trading and bought some Polka BTC. The other way I can also trade against by selling, for example, some Polka BTC and gain some probably DOT or something else. As long as there's liquidity, you can trade within this DEX. This DEX is super useful when the network bootstrapped. It's going to be one of the very first DEX that's going to available on Kusama that allow you to trade in a trustless way. And also because it's like an MM type of exchange, you can also provide liquidity. So you can provide liquidity in sense of like supplying a set of pairs into the pool. For example, I would like to provide AUSD to DOT, and you can supply that. I would like to provide X amount of AUSD and X amount of DOT. By supplying liquidity into this DEX, you are essentially a market maker, a passive market maker. You will be earning the liquidity, the trading fee. You will be earning all the rewards when you are providing this liquidity. So every time that people trade, you essentially help them to trade, and by doing that, you'll be earning some nice share of the trading fees by providing this liquidity. This exchange itself, as for consumer, is already quite useful, but it also has some extra functionality. It's actually the backbone, the unified source of liquidity for the whole Karura network, which I will cover later when we show off the gas fee payment feature. But for now, we can see this is like already a very, very user-friendly, consumer-friendly way for you to trade in a trustless way on Kusama and on Karura.
And just to mention again what Rui Tao mentioned earlier, this is just our testnet. So when Karura launches, these will be KSM focused. So what you see here is AUSD and ACA. When Karura launches, this will say KUSD, which is the Karura dollar, and it'll say KAR here instead of ACA, which is the utility token of Karura.
Yeah.
Another thing, okay, so Ben is asking something like, what's the earnings share for participating in the liquidity pool? So one thing to mention is that we've set aside, it's 6%, right, Rui Tao, of the KAR, the Karura supply, for the initial liquidity provider program. So this is a bit of an alpha leak, I think, on this call, but definitely something that will reward early liquidity providers who bring in whatever it might be, if it's KSM or what have you. There will be an opportunity to provide liquidity for any of these pairs on the Karura DEX from day one when we launch.
Yes, I think this is another reason that why we think Karura is going to be so amazing for Kusama token holders, because you can actually put the Kusama token into work for you, right? You can simply provide liquidity in the Karura network and start to enjoy return for participating in this network. And for the rewards when providing liquidity, they actually double reward in the very first year that we, as Dan mentioned. So you will be earning the typical liquidity provider fee that's like pretty much industry standard. If you check out like SushiSwap, you can check out like Uniswap. They're already pretty much like the standard liquidity provider fee. But in additional, you will be earning some liquidity reward for early contribution for Karura. And as Dan said, we set aside a set of Karura token to be used for that particular incentive as well.
A couple of people are asking about impermanent loss when providing liquidity.
Yeah, definitely. Like if obviously in short run or in short term, if you check Uniswap, there's like this problem of impermanent loss when you're providing liquidity pair to, let's say, two very volatile assets. It's in the very beginning, it's almost the same for providing liquidity in Karura as well. So you will be experiencing some of the impermanent loss in short term, but in long term, if you actually check the historic data, in long term, that pretty much all turns out to be great. The additional incentive that we have in place for KAR tokens as a liquidity reward for providing early liquidity will even offset that, if there's any, even further. And we have some exciting stuff that we may come up later when we start to roll up stuff one by one. As I said, or as Dan described, Karura and Acala are specialized network, right? It's like a network specialized for finance. So when we go live, it's not going to stay in this shape. We're going to continue to improve and continue to roll up new feature on top of that. That's the hints I can give up today.
Cool. Yeah, I guess we can move on to the next section. Someone was asking like when you can do this, when you can provide liquidity, when you can use the DEX, and the answer is the moment we launch. So Karura, we just need to win the parachain slot auction, and the moment we win that, all these, as you can see right now, this is all built. We've been actually waiting to launch this. So the moment we can get our slots in the Kusama network, we'll go live, and this stuff will all be usable from the moment we get started.
Yeah. So the next section is about liquid staking, and this is super amazing. I just can't wait to use this feature. So the liquid staking, essentially in a nutshell, is like it's a meta, a trustless staking pool that you can free your stake asset. So think about as like if you're holding Kusama today, and if you stake with validators, which you should. Every time that you want to spend or you want to move your Kusama, you have this typical 7-day unbounding period for the security of the network. And on Polkadot, it's even longer. It's 28 days for unbounding your stake assets. So what we created as what we call liquid staking is essentially a trustless staking pool that you can stake using Karura. And every time that you stake, you will be getting a receipt of your stake asset. Because it's trustless, the receipt of your stake asset, what we call LKSM. So LKSM is you bearing. As long as you hold onto LKSM, you will be earning the staking reward. It's also safe because it's trustless. It's always guaranteed that you can redeem for more KSM when you want to redeem the KSM back. So this is something that's extremely user-friendly. I think everyone should be using this if you hold Kusama. And I'm going to demonstrate here, right? So for me to stake in this trustless staking pool, it's as simple as I just swap some dots or some KSM into LKSM. We make the user interface looks like swapping, but instead this is not. This is staking. So I'm going to say that I'm going to stake, and this is essentially staking 1 KSM. In exchange, I get 10 LKSM back. This ratio is determined by the system. We are going to improve this user interface later. So it's always say that 1 KSM will be equal to 1 LKSM, and then 1 LKSM will be equal to more and more KSM when you redeem later. That's like if you hold on to LKSM, you will be growing. Very similar to how you save money in compound, your money will be growing. That's like you are earning interest. But in this particular, in our liquid staking, you are earning the staking reward. The LKSM. Yeah. Go ahead, Dan.
Let me just explain that. So in this case, you can see dot and L dot, so that might be easier. So what you're doing here is you're staking DOT, and say you're staking 10 DOT, you would get 10 L DOT in return, and those liquid dots can be used within Acala if it's DOT. But what Rui Tao mentioned is how this L DOT is a receipt for your staked DOT. So if you can imagine, like on the wallet screen that Rui Tao showed you with all of your balances, your L DOT balance will actually always be going up because it's showing you it's a receipt for your staked DOT. So as your staked DOT starts earning more and more staking rewards, that'll be reflected in your L DOT balance. So when you go to redeem your L DOT for like native DOT at the end, whenever you want to unstake, your L DOT will have gone up since the moment you actually got your original L DOT, if that makes sense. Because it's always reflecting your staking rewards, adding on to your stack of L DOT.
Yeah, think about as if L DOT is a share of the pool, of the staking pool, and the staking pool is growing in size because there's going to be staking reward that's pouring to the pool. But you can always redeem for the same share that you put it in. So the redeeming number will be always growing. So holding L DOT, holding LKSM is as if you are staking. Yeah, and it's like if you have L DOT or you have LKSM, because we call it liquid, right? It's actually transferable within the Acala shard and within the wider Polkadot ecosystem. You can send L DOT to someone else. You can send LKSM to someone else as you were just moving, as if you're just moving some transferable asset. The recipient who gets L DOT or who gets LKSM can choose to continue to hold on the LKSM or L DOT, or they can decide to redeem and get the actual vanilla DOT back. So this is like the reason we call it liquid is that it's transferable. It could be used for other utility as well. And one big utility that you can use with this LKSM is that you can actually borrow against your LKSM. In the demo that I showed earlier is that you can borrow against your stake asset. So you don't actually have to give up your opportunity cost if you say that you want to borrow against DOT. You have to choose that, hey, do I want to stake this DOT or do I want to borrow against my DOT? But with L DOT or with LKSM, this is the best of both. You could be earning the staking reward while you're borrowing against your position. Yep. And yeah, Dan, any question so far?
One question from Jack here in the chat is, it's basically like what he said, what happens if you trade or sell your L DOT? So you have like the stake DOT, you get this L DOT, let's say you sell it all and you have, so what happens then to your original DOT? Like how do you actually either pay for that or get the DOT?
So think about the L DOT is like a receipt or redeems receipt for your stake DOT, right? So if you sell your L DOT, you actually sell the right to redeem those DOTs. So it's as if you sell the DOT to someone else. So in the demo that I just showed earlier, if I transfer some L DOT to someone else, I was transferring the redeem right of the underlying DOT to someone else. So it's as if I was sending DOTs. So if you sold them, then it's just like as if you sold the DOTs. It's no longer yours. And the redeem right for the underlying DOT is also no longer yours.
Okay, so the L DOT isn't connected directly to like a specific DOT. It's kind of that pool. So if Jack here, who asked the question, sent me his L DOT, I could take that L DOT and redeem it for DOT in the Acala pool.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The moment that you stake with the liquid staking pool, the DOT enter the pool. And you essentially get back is the right to redeem for the DOT. And because DOT itself is not fungible, it's fungible, right? Every single DOT is the same. You can't say that, okay, that DOT is my DOT and that DOT is your DOT. They are all DOTs.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this Sage Law said, so the L DOT is like the title to a car. So if you sell the title, someone else kind of owns the car.
Yes.
Makes sense. Another good question is, basically, could you explain how the interest or the staking interest works, since you're staking with Acala versus, I guess in this case, with Karura. So if you're staking your KSM with Karura, it's not staking like directly into the Kusama chain. There's this kind of application layer. So they're asking who is paying that percent interest for in the Karura case, LKSM staking. Like, how does that work?
Well, awesome. Like, this is a good question, right? So Think about the liquid staking pool as a trustless staking pool. The dot or the KSM that you deposit into the pool will be managed by the network, and the network will then nominate those dots into the validator within the Kusama network. And if this dot is this pool size is growing size, it will be managed. It will be nominated across multiple validators in the Kusama network. So ultimately, the staking reward of staking by minting the LKSM would be equivalent to the average yield of the network. It will be safer because like the pool is spread across multiple validators. So even a slash happens, the risk of like the pool is sort of like mitigated because only slash a tiny portion of that. But the same, the staking reward is also the average yield. It's like a safe average yield of the expected return of the network. And one key other fact we need to understand is also the LKSM holders actually can vote for validators. So this is what we are work in progress. So when you meet LKSM, you actually have the right to say that I prefer the pool to validate and delegate the KSM into this set of validators. And ultimately, the pool will take all the input from the LKSM holders and nominate those Kusama for across all the validators as a portion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, so if I'm understanding correctly, just to reiterate this for, I forget who asked that question, but with Kusama now, if you're staking through Polkadot.js, it's you as a user staking directly to a validator or a set of validators. In this case, there's Karura in the middle. So you stake with Karura. Karura distributes the stake of everyone on Karura to an evenly distributed set of validators across Kusama. And then all the returns coming in from those validators are pooled and then evenly distributed at the average across all the validators that Karura is staking with.
Yes, and if this is like a centralized staking service, then you have the risk of the centralized entity being default. You have to trust the centralized entity to do the right thing. But since the liquid staking protocol that we currently have is trustless, everything is managed on chain. You can think of like it's like an advanced version of smart contract. Everyone is staking in a trustless way, and there's no risk of being managed by one single centralized entity. So I think this is awesome. This is the way to go for, in a sense, your Kusama, even if you stake through the liquid staking, your Kusama never leave your custody.
Yep. We have some just really good questions here. So Kalyan asked, okay, so by staking or by making dot liquid, are we compromising the safety of the Polkadot chain? The dot can be still be slashed, right? Mm-hmm. What happens then? So basically he's asking what happens with like network security and slashing.
Okay, I think this is an awesome question, right? So if the Polkadot's network security can be compromised by saying that you simply pull up the dot together and make it transferable and make it liquid, then I think it's going to happen anyway. Like there's always a lot of centralized entities. So if you stake with Binance today, you can already transfer your stake asset. You can trade it in the market or things like that. So the thing is that we don't think this is going to affect the Polkadot's network security at all, because ultimately, if by simply reprogram or by building something on top of the network and you can affect security, then there's actually a security problem of the underlying layer. In our case, we don't think that's going to have any problem. The other key stuff to think of, like if you stake through this particular liquid staking pool, you actually do not have the risk-free way to say that you are no longer getting chance of getting slashed. So if the liquid staking pool was delegating or nominating, let's say across 50 validators, and one of those getting slashed, the pool actually will get a hit of getting this slashed. But the result of like spreading this pool across 50 validators is that even though you're getting slashed in one validator, the overall damage for the whole pool is particularly low, and that's why I say it's a safe way to stake. It's getting the average yield of the network. It's not trying to seek for the maximum return. but it's also a very, very user-friendly way that you can always expect to earn the expected return of the network. If you are staking by yourself and if you're nominating your dot to one particular validator, and then if that validator was misbehaving, is slashed, then you will take a cut by nominating that validator. If you stake through this pool, there's still chances that validator gets slashed, but the overall cost for the pool holders will be even out and will be reduced.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So hopefully that helps, Kalian. Oh, another thing to maybe mention or show is one of the current issues on Polkadot and Kusama right now are two things. The staking minimums are becoming super high on Polkadot and also on Kusama. So what this allows is for people to come in and stake DOT with like virtually no minimum, right? Like what would the actual minimum be?
So this is like, I have friends that has like 40 dots, right? And my friend really want to stake, but you can't because the minimum staking amount on Polkadot currently I think is over 200 dots, which is a lot. But in this, if you stake through Karura or if you stake through Acala, you can actually bypass this limitation because like the pool itself, like this particular address controlled by the protocol, will actually definitely have more than 200 dots to nominate. So no matter how small amount you have, you can still deposit into this pool, and the pool by itself can nominate the total amount of its dot to all the validators. So yes, we can definitely bypass that.
And then the other thing is people who are staking through Polkadot.js or any of the other kind of more native staking, like not exchanges and centralized stuff. With Polkadot.js right now, you stake KSM and you have to do this 7-day unbonding period. And then with Polkadot, it's even longer. It's 28 days, so it just takes forever to unlock. With Karura and with Acala, you can, and we were talking, maybe you can show this, but basically you can unstake early for a small fee. And that fee is shown, I think, as you're kind of not checking out, but as you're kind of going through this process. Yeah. So fee. So in this case, you're basically unstaking instantly, right? And then you're paying a fee of 0.02 dot.
Yes. So the design of the liquid staking pool is that if I go to the advanced tab, you will see that we always have maintain some free dots or some free Kusama available for redeem immediately. So let's say that if a user really want to redeem the L dot back to dots immediately, you can do so because there's always a portion to set aside for free to redeem. But if you want to redeem immediately, you need to pay a fee to cover the otherwise lost return of those free portion of the pool. And also, like, this is not option. This is not compulsory. So if you want to redeem, there's actually 3 ways for you to redeem. You can say that I want to redeem now, then I will have to pay some fee. Or you say that we're going to redeem the typical way, that's like waiting for the standard unbounding period. You can free to do so. Or you can also redeem to say that I want to redeem, and there's a queue of unbounding dots on the staking pool, because like we'll be always rebalance between the stake dot and the unstake dot. So you can choose that which maybe like 5 days later you need the dots that will be at that particular price. So it's actually a lot of like advanced feature hidden in here that you can redeem in multiple ways. You can redeem at no cost, or you can redeem immediately.
So in the middle one that you just showed, basically the main difference would be every day closer to the current date, you're just paying a little bit higher of a fee. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So think about that. You want to withdraw money from a fixed term deposit account, right? So you have to pay some fee, or you have to lose some interest if you want to withdraw money from a fixed deposit account. And how urgently you need the money depend, and you will forfeit how much interest you will be giving back.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So I think that's the show off of the liquid staking protocol, and all these 3 protocols, like, they work with each other. The liquid staking dots and the LKSM can be used to borrow, can be used as collateral, can be traded in the DEX as well. And because we call ourselves like as a specialized network, I would like to really show off something that's like why we call ourselves as a specialized network. It's because like we can customize stuff that's outside the application layer. We can customize a logic in the blockchain layer that can create something that's like amazing to boost the user experience much friendlier. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch to a brand new account, right? I have this brand new account and I have nothing else but 500 AUSD or KUSD in this case. I have no other asset. In Karura or in Acala, we have this like pay as you go or like fix a fee or bring your own gas. I can start to trade immediately as long as I have some asset in the Karura network. So I'm going to send $100 to another address. I will just press confirm. I'm going to type in my password and I can send it. And the network is happily taking the AUSD that I sent. It will charge like half of a dollar of the AUSD as the network fee. So this is already a huge user experience boost compared to other blockchains. This is like making the transaction in Acala or in Karura much friendlier. And another very common scenario that you experience is that if you arrive on Karura or you arrive on Acala, you have only dots, right? You have nothing else but dots. And in this particular cases, you still want to transact within Karura, you can do so. So I'm going to borrow against my 1.5 Kusama, let's pretend it in these cases. I'm going to borrow against that. I have no other assets. I have only dots. I can still transact. I can transact, and the network is happy to take a fraction of my dots or my Kusama as the network fee to allow me to transact. So this is like what we call bring your own gas, flexi fee, and this is like you are not forced to buy some native token just in order to pay for the gas fee. We think a specialized financial network should be as smooth as possible, should be encouraging the user, the trader to trade, other than, hey, you should really get some token before you can trade. So this is one of the special functionality that you can see that the power if you can customize the network into the core level.
Yeah, this person, Jack, asked a really good question. And it's exactly right. So he said,
so Dan, is there any question regarding like how we show this this flexible fee payment on gas?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Rita?
I think we lost Dan, but don't worry, I can continue to.
Rita, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
I can't hear you, Dan. Can you hear me, Dan?
Okay, I think
for some reason I can see Dan the spinning. Okay, that's great. Maybe then I will try to rejoin, or you can carry on the conversation. I will try to rejoin and see if we can if I can hear you. Let me try to rejoin.
Okay, cool. Okay. Well, I'm glad it wasn't just me. So let's see, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, there was a question about from who was it? Jack? Oh, about how the pay your own gas or what's it? Basically the gas fee. Bring your own gas. So as I try to invite Rui Talbeck, basically you were. Is he right there? You hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you better now. I think it's awesome. Like we're building Web 3.0, but now the Web 2.0 streaming service failed on us.
Okay, I was trying to answer the question. So Jack, you were exactly right. The way that the gas fee actually works on the surface, on the UI to the user, it looks like you're paying in Bitcoin or Link or ETH or whatever it might be. But on the back end, you're exactly right. It's actually being sent to the Acala DEX on the back end and transferred for the ACA, which is actually the fee that has to be paid for that transaction. So you were right there. So yeah, Ruta, do you have anything else in terms of demo? We've got 51 questions.
Yeah, I would just maybe in my screen show off one additional reason that all the Kusama holders should support Karura. It's like when we launch Karura, Dan already hinted there's going to be a liquidity mining reward and incentive program. So it'd be super awesome. Like if you launch, if Karura launched, you can not only you can start to trade your Kusama token, you can also earn some return by providing liquidity, by minting stable coin. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do by participating in this network as an early contributor. So I think this is a really amazing chance to bootstrap. No better way to bootstrap Kusama with a set of useful consumer protocol along with a way to participate in the network and get return, get rewards.
Yeah, I know we actually had a question about that 6%. Someone asking a few times.
Yeah.
So I guess I need to find Bays was asking, and there's so many questions. Well, hey, I guess Bays will find that question and come back to it. Someone also asked about the crowd loan and how they lock and contribute to all that. Let's keep the conversation kind of focused more on the product today. We've done crowd loan presentations in the past, and we're going to be doing at least one, probably more, before that starts. So trust us, we're going to be giving you probably more education than you even need on how that whole process works, and we'll be doing that when the time comes. We're waiting just like you guys, and we don't know dates or anything like that, but it's going to be soon. It's looking like. The question about the liquidity was 6% of KAR will be allocated to early liquidity providers. How many early providers will that apply to? And is there like a fixed amount, or how does that work?
No, because like this is a brand new area, right? So we think 6% is going to be distributed across the very first 12 months upon network genesis. That's the minimum total that the network is willing to incentivize early adopters. And because like this is a brand new area, we will be reviewing or the governance process of the network will be reviewing where incentive is needed at most. For example, if more stablecoin is needed, every 2 weeks, the governance process will review there should be more incentive deploying into the stablecoin minting. If more DEX volume or the more DEX liquidity is needed, every 2 weeks, the governance process will say that, okay, there will be slightly more incentive in the DEX at that particular pair. So you'll be constantly updating, but the goal for the network is to give out 6% at minimum for the very 12 months for everyone that's contributing, that's trading, that's providing liquidity, that's minting stablecoin, or minting the LKSM token in the network. So yeah, there's so many ways to participate.
And so I guess there's a little bit more to his question, or his or her, I don't know. The first, he's saying, or he or she is saying, like the first, is it a cap on like time? How does the 6% get distributed across that 12 months if there's all these different ways of allocating that?
Yeah, I think that's like in the very early, because the network was freshly genocide. So we don't know. And it really depends on every constant review of every 2 weeks. But the goal is to distribute this. I think the very early, there'll be more incentive. As we're closer to end, will be slightly less because that by then the network should be already bootstrapped. So I think the best way to get more the maximum amount of reward that you're able to get is to get in early and constantly checking the governance process of like where the most incentive will be located at and supply to those protocols.
Cool. Okay, well, we're hitting an hour. So for those of you who need to go, feel free. We're finished with the presentation. We've got a lot of questions, so I think we can spend maybe 10 minutes working through these as quickly as we can. And what we can do, and this is going to take some work, but I think we can commit to this, is we'll go through the questions afterwards that we didn't answer. And if there's any questions that are like particularly good questions, we'll get some Q&A written up and send that as a follow-up to everybody who is on this call. So apologies if we can't get to your question, but we'll answer as many as we can now and then respond with the others. So the first question is the most upvoted. So they're asking, I think one of the most asked questions is unanswered. Was yesterday's Build Acala email official?
Well, there's how do I say that? There's a community reward event. So if you do have a code and if you do check the website's official Acala.network, then it is the official channel.
And if you received any emails from Acala Foundation, just make sure you're checking the domain. If it's at acala.network, then that's coming from the Acala Foundation. Second question is, okay, is there a date for Karura's auction process? I already answered that. No, soon. Okay, let's see. They're asking if if U.S. citizens will be eligible for the crowd loans and parachain auctions.
We are working with regulators and legals, and I don't have a definitive answer at this stage. It's likely, maybe, but we will know that it's not a no, but it's also not a yes. But we'll know that once the auction process opens.
Cool. This question I answered about LDOT and DOT, the kind of receipt and how your LDOT balance is going to be constantly going up in relation to reflect what your DOT balance is doing behind the scenes with the staking. That's a good question.
So in intended stablecoin, does this mean will be made? So
the next question I see is, Karura is intended to be the DeFi hub of Kusama, and Acala will be the DeFi hub of Polkadot. Will these be the only DeFi hubs, or will there also be other DeFi platforms?
Well, we see the Polkadot gonna have like 100 parachains, so there's gonna be always open and a trustless way for people to build, right? But what I can say is that currently Karura is going to be the prominent, the prominent project in Kusama. We're the top developed project in terms of like project completeness. So we have the code set, the whole code ready to go, being audited 3 times. So, I mean, as things evolve, there will be more specialized network. But I think at this stage, we would say that we are the most ready, the top prominent project to go in this direction. And obviously, the question regarding like what the Kusama, the Karura serving Kusama and the Acala serving Polkadot, the idea behind it is that Karura is always going to serve the Kusama community, and the Kusama community's culture is very different from the Polkadot community's culture. So I'm always using this example that for Kusama, it's like wild. It's like, I don't want to say degen, but it's more of like risk-seeking, aggressiveness, and vibrant. Polkadot is more of like serious security, bank-grade security, or things like that. So upon launch, these 2 networks is the same, but they will evolve in their own very distinctive style, I would say.
Okay, I'm gonna keep skip. There's a lot of Build Acala questions. We've already answered that. So why have Acala and Karura? I already answered that too. It's basically to serve the DeFi demand of the Kusama and Polkadot communities.
Yeah, and then I think there's a lot of questions in the chat regarding that can a U.S. citizen participate in the crowd loan? I mentioned earlier that I didn't say no, but I mean, we are working with legals and regulators. I don't have a definitive answer today, but we'll find out, right?
Yep. They're asking how many KAR they could potentially receive as part of the crowd loan for Kusama.
Yeah, I think Betty already shared the numbers, right? So for the 1 year lease, the minimum amount of KR that you are receiving per Kusama contributed is 12. You might get more, but that's the minimum amount that's guaranteed.
And with that being said, we know that Polkadot has the maximum lease, parachain slot lease of 2 years. We don't actually know yet. The Kusama team hasn't revealed the maximum. So when Rutao is saying 1 to 12 plus, this is for assuming we have a 1 year slot. There's a chance that it could be less than that or more than that. This is one of the key things we're waiting on from Gavin and the team at Kusama.
Yeah, that's the culture of Kusama. Like, expect chaos. You don't know until it's live.
Like a day before.
Yeah.
Exchanges, we'll skip that. You'll just find out later. Okay. They're asking, this is a good question and kind of more recent. So why did Acala decide to redenominate to 1 billion and KR at 100 million?
Well, I think it's mostly due to the reason that Polkadot itself has a redenomination. It will give out a much nicer ratio. Like, for example, if you stake Kusama, you get some KR token. You will see the similar nice ratio when you stake DOT to get some ACA token as well. It's purely for that reason. Hope they answer that.
Yeah, and the other aspect of it is the underlying, like, the decimal point problem. There was quite a bit of issues with, I think Polkadot in the beginning, keeping the original token supply added a lot of complexity with like too long of decimal places. So that was the other reason for the Acala one. Acala. Okay. Let's see. Take a couple more. Oh, someone's asking about the collectibles tab. Is this for NFTs? And maybe I can just add to this, like, what is Acala's kind of, I guess, thoughts around or strategy around NFTs?
Mm-hmm. I think there's already, you can see there's a collectible tab. There's already some collectible being given out in the testnet. Because we've been building this testnet for a long time, so I think the testnet being up and running for over half a year. It's a way to reward the early participants in the testnet. There's already some NFT being minted in the testnet, and I think those will be carried on to mainnet as well. And then maybe you can share a little bit like about the collectible, that maybe we have some surprise when we're going to go launch on the crowd launch stage. I'm not sure how much you want to share, but maybe take the stage, Dan.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much to share on that quite yet. So we're just thinking around other ways to kind of thank and incentivize people who are early contributors and crowd loan supporters. So there could be some kind of surprises that pop up in that collectibles tab come time for the crowd loans. Yeah,
I would just say that we think we are making history, right? So I mean, if you guys are supporting along with this ride, maybe there's a piece of unique collectible that may be earned through this process.
Here's a question that I saw pop up a few times today. Who is this? That's a good question. Brian. So as traffic picks up within the network, how does this affect gas? And this is a question that relates to Kusama and Polkadot. So maybe you can answer that one.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome question. I think my point of view on gas fee is that we want to keep the gas as low as possible. It's the gas fee is not a way to boost the network value. In fact, the gas fee should be kept as low as possible to encourage transaction activity happen on the network. And those are the stuff that bring the network values. In our rough test as a parachain, I think we see TPS scale at 1,000 or above that. So the way that we calculate gas is weight-based rather than the mechanism most of people are familiar with the Ethereum, which is like bidding for the gas fee. Because the parachain has much higher capacity in processing transactions, we think we're able to maintain a very low gas fee for extend I would say for the near short term to medium term futures, I don't think that's going to be a problem. And if we are hitting that bottleneck of like 2,000 or 1,000 transactions per second, the ultimate solution is just like in the imagination stage. At this stage, is always, as Gavin said, there's Polkadot within Polkadot. There's a little bit long term, but I don't want to get carry too much on that. I would say there's always scalable solution when building a Polkadot, and we always have a way to maintain low gas fee.
Yeah, I want to pull. I showed something last time that people, I think, liked, and I'll just share just to add on to what you were saying about Polkadot within Polkadot.
Mm-hmm.
If I can find it real quick. Oh yeah, here it is. So it's definitely something that's in the future, but it's pretty interesting to kind of think about. So I'll just share this real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that this is nothing official. This is something that I built myself when I heard about Polkadot 2.0 and what it could potentially be. And what Rui Tao was referring to is like relay chains within relay chains. So what you could have is Acala starting as a parachain here, but then eventually deciding to branch out and build our own relay chain, which then connects into the original Polkadot. So you've got Polkadot within Polkadot within Polkadot in this diagram. And this is potentially where we could be heading in the future. Kind of fun to think about. We'll see if it comes true. Okay, let's take like one more question. Karura tokenomics, I pasted the link in the chat. So acala.network/Karura/token is a good place to go for that. And yeah, let's call it a day. We've been here for an hour and 15. Like I said, I'll go through the questions, and anything that we didn't answer, I'll try to create a response if it's a good question. And that's about it. Hopefully you guys learned something new about Karura. I know I learned something new and had fun looking at the product demos. This is being recorded, and this is going to be live on our YouTube. So definitely watch out for our Twitter. We'll post the link on our Twitter, and then feel free to share it with your friends if you learned something and want to kind of help spread the word. So thanks everybody for taking the time to join us, and we will definitely see you soon.
Yep, thank you. Super excited and can't wait for the product to go live. Please support us.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.